chapter we're going to look at how the sleeves are done in very much detail. So here they are, the lovely, lovely puff sleeves, and I hope you really enjoy this. Now the sleeve lining is much, much smaller than the actual sleeve so that it fits on. So what it's effectively doing, it's gonna hold it in at the right place. And the first thing to do is to close the sides here of my lining, and then we're going to do the same with our upper sleeve. And you need to have the right sides together when you're sewing this together, and the wrong side or your fabric underside sits on top while you're sewing. Line it up here with the side that you've got on your sewing machine where it says 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. And lock in your stitches at the end. Take your lining and you do exactly the same. 1 centimeter seam allowance, lock in your stitches, and go. Try not to stretch this, because it is here on the bias mat area. Now we've sewn all our seams together. Next we're going to press them, and we're ironing the seam allowances apart. Lots of steam. That's one thing that's nice with linen, you can iron it at any temperature, so I do like that. You want to place your sleeves in front of you just like this, and we are going to put gather threads on the one side like you can see here so that we can pull them, and we're going to do the first line almost 3 or 4 millimeters off the edge, and then the next one foot width next to that. So let's pop on over to our sewing machine here and do this. We are not going to lock our stitches in with this, of course. We're just going to go and we leave a long thread hanging at the back so that we can work with it. So I'm going to go all the way around at the top here, and I'm lining up with this line here. Go all the way around. Don't look at your needle. Just keep feeding it in there, and you can go like really fast. And when you're around, you leave a long thread hanging. Do the same again. Put it back under. This time foot width all the way around. And then we leave a long thread hanging, cut it off, and that's it. And we're ready to put this onto our lining. So you now want to grab that lining. We want the right sides together. The smaller side of this funnel goes to the top, right? This goes to the top. So we want the longer side that we're going to stick in here. So I'm going to turn this to the right side so I can stick it in, and we've got the right sides on the inside, and I'm just going to put one pin there, go to the other side and put one pin here. And now magic ensues. I can just pick up the under threads and I'm going to pull them all the way along, and I'm going to help them along a little bit while I'm doing it until they fit on. So first we're doing it rather roughly. There we go. I've already got it. It's too much. I put it too much. There we go. Make sure that all sits nice. And now I'm going to pin this baby here along one side to the other, and do the same on the other side. We're going to pull our threads again, and now I can just stitch in the middle of these two threads once all the way around. So I'm going to go over on my sewing machine here and start stitching it in. You can start anywhere, you don't have to start on the seam. Make sure that the stitch length is back down. Mine was still up on 4.5, and I'm going to go all the way around. And at this point, of course, you can also start making your gathers look a little bit nicer with a pin. Now we're just going to go along there and you can adjust. Oh my goodness. As soon as we've done this, we are going to overlock the edge so that it doesn't fray anymore. That's like terrible fraying. It's easier actually if you turn it so that you work from the inside. I always preach that to everyone, and then on this one I've just forgotten it. So there you go. So worked to the wise here. If you're doing this with linen, I would consider overlocking all of this before you start sewing. This is really fraying. Yeah, that's frayed. So our next step now is to remove the lower gather thread, so I can pull out my pins again, and then from the underside, of course, I'm just gonna start anywhere with my pin, go in there and lift out the thread so I can pull it out, and then we're gonna overlock it. And you can see I'm cutting off all the nasty bits, and then I can actually see what I'm doing. It's nice and clean. The next step is to get the elastic on. You cut that to the length that's in the pattern. But also, if you have like a really skinny mini with skinny mini arms, you might want to put this over. So if I overlap my elastic and I just put it over my arm here, and I can see it's quite loose, so I could possibly change it a bit. But you don't want it to be tight either. You just want it to be just about sitting nicely on there, and I can see that I can reduce this a little bit. Now we're going to add the puff to the sleeve. There's two ways to do that. You can either just get elastic and not even cutting it to the length I suggest, and just zigzagging it on here, like go and pull it as much as you can all the way around and then cut off where it gets to. That's the one way. The other way is to create a tunnel by simply stitching here through the top edge so that you've got enough to pull your elastic through. So you might need a smaller safety pin to pull it through, because the big one obviously won't go through that. Or you could have used a slightly deeper seam allowance maybe, so that it comfortably goes through. I just overlocked off all my nasty bits and didn't even think about it. So mine's going to be a bit tight, but I'm still going to do my tunnel. The first thing is to iron the seam allowance into the lining. So lots of steam. Give it what for. So that's now ironed really lovely. I can take this over to my sewing machine and sew my little tunnel. Now I'm going to pull this over my sewing machine, and you want your tunnel to go up into the lining. It's a little bit easier here. Now I'm going to sew all the way around here, just very, very close to the edge. Now you can see that I'm just lining up with my presser foot here, the edge of my seam, all the way around. And now what do I not forget? To leave my turning gap. So finally we can put our elastic in. It's a very exciting moment, I think, personally. Get your safety pin if you can get it through. This is a really cheap safety pin. It's not really a proper one. And you find your little gap, and there it is. And now I'm going to just push my elastic through here all the way to the other side. As soon as it gets a little bit close, you might want to put a pin in there. I'm not there yet, but it's really disheartening when you're threading something through and you get to the other side and you literally pull it through and you have to start over. So, right, pull it out. Oh, beautiful. And Now at this point, what I'm going to do is take my safety pin out, and I'm going to pop these on top of each other, and I'm going to see whether they are the right width, you know, and if it's still very, very loose or stuff, I can still change that. Let's have a look. So what I'm going to do is just put my arm through here and see how that fits. Oh, this is a nice idea for a sleeve as well. So I'm just going to overlap this now and stitch it through the end. And now I can just go from side to side. Doesn't have to be pretty. Move it over, do the other side. Now I can take my pin out as well. It might support a little bit better. And then move to the other side and do it there as well. And there you go. That's fine. All I have to do now is to close the little gap that I've got here, and then I can just distribute these around, and we're nearly done. This is a gorgeous little sleeve. You want to take the arm of the machine off again, and then you pull it over, and all you do is close that little gap that we've left open to put the elastic in. Log in your stitches and we go across. The next thing you want to do is just overlock once round, because it's fraying really badly and I don't want it to fray anymore. Before we put our gather threads in, I would just mark the center here, because I've overlocked it, the snip is now gone that I've put there. So that's why I'm putting it in again. And now I'm going to put my gather threads in. Just pop this under, and we're doing exactly what we did before. We're going to have one close and then one foot width. And you can really get some speed up here, and we're going once round. Don't forget the thread here needs to hang long, because we're going to pull it. And now I'm going to do another stitch right next to it, so that it's all held in. Don't forget, stitch length has to be 4.5, and we'll just go over, lining it up with what we've just done. Now we can just gather the top and put it on the other side, and we're actually going to put the wrong sides together this time. So now comes the fun part, where we just pull this through and we create this really gorgeous sleeve here, which is almost like, I think it looks a bit Victorian, and I'm really loving it. And I'm going to pull the two threads that are here on this side from which I'm pulling. Sorry, I've been filming too long. Oh, great. It's really nice. Oh, how cute is this? And then I do the other side, I think. And now I'm going to pull this out. Yep, that's about right. Oh, gorgeous. Now all I have to do is disperse these a little bit. Less underneath the arm, don't really need it there, and more over the top, obviously, and then we can sew it together. It's really simple. This part, there's really nothing to it, is there? All I have to do is just put a holding stitch all the way around, and then we're going to insert it into our lovely top. And now I'm going to sew this all in, and this is the time where I can actually distribute my gathers really properly. So let's have a look how that's done. There we go. And I'm gonna take a pin. I can take this pin out actually. And now I can move my gathers around a little bit with my needle like this, and then I'm stitching straight through the gap here, and it helps to hold it with that pin. Do this all the way around. Really simple. It is only a holding stitch, so you don't have to worry about not doing this too tidy. It's not important, right? See how untidy this is and messy? You do that when you're on the sewing machine. You make sure that it's nice and spread out and everything is standing the right way. Look like that. And then you sew it in. You can also pull it right over if you take the arm off, or the plate off rather, and you put this under. I always do one for the German and one for the English. So for them I've done it like this, and actually it fits over, so you didn't need to turn that, so that's just another option, and then go all the way around. Now that we've made our gorgeous sleeves, we can actually put them into the blouse.